Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Quivz here. Quivz does stuff. Back again in Terratech today. Hopefully expect to get the Venture license at some point today. Surprised I didn't manage to do it in the previous episode, but yeah, you never know when those things are actually going to turn up. There's a pretty big tech up on the top of that hill. I'm hoping he's going to come down to get me. I don't know, he's just... there we go. At the height that he was, it wasn't going to be easy to pull him apart. There we go. That solves that. I get a couple of those good wheels? I did. Awesome. Dump everything in, but I will probably just put these on straight away. Oh, missed it. Oh well. Is it a 3-pounder? It is. Isn't really anywhere else I can set up extra cannons. Oh, and I kind of have to go with those because otherwise I can't fit the extra miniguns on. Yeah, that'll do. So again, being located nice and close to a minigun. Oh. Hey Jonathan. Yeah, good. Had the weekend off. Been playing D&D with the family and assorted other things. I was also about to mention that there's another game that is on my list of, well, you should play this games, just like Terratech was, and I was thinking maybe I could play that one as well, alternately, because it's very easy to get bored with Let's Plays if you just play one game continuously, especially for the streamer themselves. So I was thinking of doing Raft by Axolotl Games. I'm not sure if that's the publisher or the developer. They also publish Scrap Mechanic. Own Scrap Mechanic. I haven't really been able to get into it, but Raft is very good as well. There we are, Race Against Time, so that'll be the Venture license, like I mentioned. Anyway, Raft. Also, surprisingly good game. Extremely simple mechanics. Very much like... Not Terratech. What other games have I done? I suppose Terratech was a bit like that. Ooh, an invasion. Let's find out. I'm going to get the high ground. And we'll see what this is. Yeah, I hadn't played it in a long time. The last time I actually played Raft, there weren't large islands in the game. Now there's not only large islands, but there's chapters and like just all sorts of things. So I've had a bit of a go, not streaming, but just playing in my own time. And it's been excellent. I've gotten pretty far, and I was thinking about streaming it. So there's a good chance that tomorrow, instead of streaming more Terratech, I might be streaming the first episode of a second Let's Play series for Raft. I don't know about rip-off versions, but the actual official game is excellent. It's extremely well made. Normally I have a problem with games where there are depths, so I don't have a problem with heights in games. I have a slight problem with heights in real life, but things where there's an unknowable abyss below you, so basically games whenever you're over the top of an ocean, generally I have problems with. So Stranded Deep I also think is a good game. The problem is I really struggle to play Stranded Deep because it's terrifying, because of all the actual sharks and things underneath. And I mean, in Stranded Deep, you really have to get off your raft all the time, and the sharks are the danger, and you have to deal with the sharks. That's kind of the gameplay loop. Whereas in Raft, okay, yes, you do have to get off the raft, but you get off the raft, you do it safely. There's only really the shark, and he's kind of predictable, so it's not as bad. But yeah, Stranded Deep also pretty good, but different. That's more of a survival crafting game. I suppose Raft is also a survival crafting game. There's food, there's water, there's crafting. They're different. They're very different. But they're pretty cool. I have never played Rust. I don't know much about Rust. I know it's supposed to be kind of good, but it's kind of gotten worse as time's gone on, because apparently the player base is really bad. I also don't think there's any single player in Rust, unless I'm wrong about that. But yeah, I don't do things unless they're single player, because you just can't tell with an online experience what's going to happen. And that's bad for streaming, because, I mean, I can end up spending 2 hours and get nowhere because I end up playing with other bad people, or I can, be in the middle of a game and someone can start spouting racism and so on and so forth. And my streams, I generally try to keep G. So, yeah. So my main thing with Rust is I haven't been hugely interested in it to play on my own in the first place. And I can't control the content because it's multiplayer. So you just never know. And I mean, so you can play and not tell people you're streaming, and then you run the risk of them doing weird things. And then if you tell them you're streaming, you run the risk of them doing weird things to spite you. So yeah, it's a problem. And I am one of the believers that if you are streaming and you're streaming a multiplayer game, you should let everyone else in the stream know that you are streaming, because they should have the option to opt out. There's currently no laws, or what laws there are kind of favor the streamer because they count as public spaces. So streamed games count as like you going out into a park or something, and at the moment in most countries, if you go out into a park, there's actually no law that says I need your permission to film you. And so streaming works in the same way, that if you are in a public space, there's an expectation that you might get filmed in that public space. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that. I think there needs to be better laws, because I think people should have the right to opt out, and that just playing a multiplayer game should not count as you opting in. There was a game I saw that had their lobbies. If you were streaming, you could flag against your name, and this little flag with a camera would come up next to it, and everyone would know that you were streaming. And you could also, when you selected lobbies, you could select lobbies that had no streamers. So, and I don't know what they did, like, it's not like they banned people who were streaming and didn't say that they were streaming, but most people were willing to say, okay, look, I am streaming. I'll put the flag up, and if you don't want to play with me, well, then you won't get match made with me. Which I thought was a really great idea, because it means that it's on the streamer to do it, which is where it should be, and then in options, you can just flag, I don't want to play with streamers. And then you don't have to play with streamers. The other thing I've several times considered doing is I play a lot of League of Legends, but that has a similar thing where, I don't know, again, like, you're allowed to stream as much as you want from what I can tell, because other people do. But I don't really want to do that, and also I'm not very good at it, so... Yeah, I think even if there isn't a law, there should be some nicety options in games where streaming is really common. To just say, like, look, you know, I don't want to be streamed because I want to be able to say what I want and not have it recorded for prosperity on YouTube forever and ever. Or, you know, perhaps if I do something stupid, I don't want that recorded and have that be my reputation. Yeah, you get better to a certain point. I've been playing League of Legends for... Geez, since Morgana came out, so that's going to be like 6, 7 years. And I've still never gotten out of silver. Yeah, you don't really have time to say bad things in chat, but a lot of people are like, you recorded me and I screwed up. It was just an accident. I sneezed or whatever, and yeah, you immortalize their bad gameplay and people get upset about that. That I can understand too. I've done stupid things where I've just had a brain fart and just, you know, done something really bad in-game and wish that that would go away, but no, somebody was streaming and now it's out there for the world to see forever. The other problem I run into is I'm not the only Quivz out there. There's another guy that plays a lot of Battlefield. But yeah, recently I've just been playing ARAM anyway. So I was thinking maybe I could just do a bit of that. Because that's not so bad. You're not really supposed to take ARAM so serious, because it's not the main game. It's not really the intended play experience. It's just a bit of fun on the side. And yeah, like I said, I've been playing forever, so, you know, I own all the characters. And ARAM is probably the only game mode in League of Legends where owning all the characters is a deficit. Because you can randomly roll anyone, so the chance of you rolling someone you don't know how to play is really high. It's not rough, it's really weird and annoying, because I used to go just by Quiver, Q-U-I-V-A, and that came from a long time ago. You know, mid-90s, I would say, I had that name. And then I googled on the internet, and there was another guy, when Battlefield, the original Battlefield 1942, whatever, the original Battlefield came out. And it's this dude, there was a guy who was playing and he was making videos. It predated YouTube. I don't know where it was that we used to go to get his videos, but you could get his videos and watch him play Battlefield, and he was pretty good. And he was called Quiver, and I was like, oh, well, that's annoying, but, you know, I didn't really care because I wasn't trying to do anything online or anything myself. It's just, that was my handle that I used in all games. And then around the cheeseburger era, where cheeseburger cat icon has cheeseburger, and everybody started putting Zs on the end of everything, I changed from Quiver to Quivz. And about a month later, I googled Quivz to see if I could find anything about myself online, and I found he'd changed to Quivz at almost the exact same time. I couldn't believe it. It was like he was copying me on purpose, or that's what it looked like. And yeah, I didn't understand, but I've never changed from Quivz since, and he apparently hasn't changed from Quivz since. I've seen he's still on Twitch to this day. He plays Call of Duty now, I think. But yeah, he plays only first-person shooters, or streams only first-person shooters from what I've seen. I've never seen him play anything else. Oh, he might have played World War Z for a while. But yeah, there's me and him. But I do a variety of things, whereas he does just the one. Or one game at a time. ARAM's good. It forces you to learn other champions. Because it's random. It's not entirely random. Everybody on your team rolls a champion. So you get 5 champion possibilities to begin with. And then everybody has up to 2 rerolls, depending on how many rerolls you used last game. And so you can roll a second champion, and then the champion you rolled first goes into a little bar at the top. And then anyone can grab champions from the top as well. And you can swap champions with other people. So there's a max of 15 champions that could possibly be on available to your side at any given time. But it's more likely that there's going to be 8 or 9 total champions, because like someone's going to roll a champ they want to play, and a bunch of other people are going to roll champs they don't want to play, but they're going to roll a champ they want to play second time. Or if you're me, you're never going to roll a champ that you want to play because you own every champ and you can't play all of them. But eventually you're going to end up having to play something that you're not good at or you've never played before, and it forces you to learn how to play that champ, at least reasonably. And because it is only ARAM, nobody gets too upset. Like if you say, look, I ended up on a champ I've never played before, just at the very, very beginning of the game, you just say, I haven't played this guy, I don't know what's going on. People will be like, okay, that's cool. I won't get too invested in this game. And you end up learning to play heaps more champions. I wouldn't have the faintest idea how to play ADCs. I was a support player for years and years and years, and I have had no idea how to actually play the ADCs I was supporting. But in ARAM, I learned how to play support players. I learned how to play ADCs, and it made me a better support because you understand what it is they're trying to do. So you can support them in getting that done. Wow. Those guys had a lot of guns and very little structural stability. Alright, we still haven't gotten to this Venture guy. She's really far away. This is Susie Varoom, which I must admit sounds like the name of a 1950s burlesque dancer. But anyway. It is a very good way to learn lots of champions. And like I said, just let people know. League does have a much less toxic player base because people get banned for being toxic and reported as such. So just go in, say, whenever you end up on a champion that you haven't played before, let the team know, I haven't really played this guy before, I'm just learning. People will give you tips. People on the other team who see that you're struggling will give you tips in ARAM. So, I mean, I don't know how many times I've seen people who can't work out how to play Zoe, and the other team will say, yeah, you've got to use your R to gain distance, and you have to press Q multiple times, and yeah, stuff like that. So, alright, this is a very slow tech. This is never going to get around this course at speed. So I'm going to anchor up and build a new tech that does have speed. So let's go with something simple. That as a bare minimum, I'll put that on and anchor it for now so that it could charge. And then just wheels, I guess. Oh, we've got these. These are really fast. I don't know how these will handle. Alright, so the Venture Speed license. We did get some some free Venture parts early due to an invasion a while ago. But we haven't got anything really good. And the Venture license is really worth continuing with because it's one of the first rocket launches you get, missile launches. And the homing missiles are really useful. They're also generally pretty powerful. The next best one is the Hawkeye one. and then the Hawkeye cruise missile, although those are harder to get. Might be time to start redesigning our tech soon if we start getting new good weapons. Right, we can take this off now. Build beam. Let's see if this is doable or if this handles terribly. Might handle alright, we might be able to get through this. Yeah, I can drive that. Alright. Oh, it's a bit twitchy. Alright, so this first one is generally pretty easy, but I never would have made it with my other tech. Because that's big and geocorp slow. My favorite game to date. What is the best game? That's really hard to quantify. I mean, if we go by just hours put in, Skyrim's got to be up there. Because I've put thousands of hours into Skyrim, and I've never even seen the actual end of the game. I've just played a lot of it. And enjoyed every minute. I've just never progressed with the story far enough to actually see how it ends. I have similar experiences with most of the Fallouts, although I did finish Fallout 3. But I don't know whether I'd say it's my favorite game. I've just put a lot of hours into it. Let's have a look at my Steam library and see what else has got a lot of hours on it. Is there a way I can organize by hours played? Not really. Collections? No, not since they changed things. 7 Days to Die, I've got 530. I've got almost 2,000 hours in Ark. I've got almost 1,000 hours in Conan Exiles. Yeah. Skyrim, yeah, I've got about 1,000 hours. Yeah, there's a lot of games that I've got tons and tons of hours in, but I wouldn't say they really crack up to be my top games. Team Fortress, I've got about 800. It's hard to go past Portal 2. Portal 2 was a really, 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 really excellent game. Then there's Chrono Trigger. So Chrono Trigger is a Super Nintendo game. Extremely old, but it's extremely good. It came out in the mid-90s, I would say. I've got a long way to go to get to Crafty Mike. So when Chrono Trigger came out, Nintendo Magazine themselves played it. And when they did, they played the Japanese version, so they played it untranslated. So a bunch of English guys playing an RPG that they couldn't understand what was going on, and they gave the game 98%. That's how good Chrono Trigger is. If you don't even have the faintest idea what's going on in the storyline, it's a great game. And then, if you add the storyline, it gets even better. And this is a Squaresoft game we're talking about, so they don't make... Like, especially back then, they didn't make bad RPGs. Now, it's debatable. I think Final Fantasy has very much lost its way. since they became Square Enix and got bought by... Who are they under these days? Electronic Arts as well? Anyway, whoever's banner they're under now. But yeah, it is one of the old super classics. It's, in my opinion, right up there with Final Fantasy VII. In fact, I believe Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VII. I'm pretty sure that's the actual order, is that they went from Chrono Trigger and that was their last two-dimensional game. But Chrono Trigger is excellent. I actually just bought the PC version of that. I now own that for 3DS, for PC, and somewhere else. I've got 3 copies of Chrono Trigger. What else do I have multiple copies of? I've played almost every Pokemon game ever released. But I wouldn't say any of them are real winners. Maybe the original, Red and Blue. Keep coming back to Portal 2. Portal 2 is pretty excellent. The thing Portal 2 doesn't have is replayability, the same with Chrono Trigger, because they are story-based. Yeah, best game. It's really hard to define. And you can look at other people's lists, but I'm not looking for the same thing in games that other people are, so it doesn't really add up. So out of lack of anything better to say, I'm going to say for now, Portal 2 is probably my favourite game of all time. Unless something occurs to me while we're playing. We'll have to see. There might be something better and I'm just not thinking of it at the moment. That's why I went through my Steam library, but it's not like Steam's the only place I own games. Yeah, Ocarina of Time would definitely be on that list. I've got Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild doesn't grab me as much as Ocarina did. Ocarina of Time, I also own 2 places. I've still got my Nintendo 64 and I've got Ocarina of Time on it. And I've still got, oh no. Okay. The refinery station has run into the problem that we were expecting, and that is we're out of space on the conveyor belts. So we'll have to change this yet again. Just to add another refinery. Yeah, I would say Ocarina of Time is the best Zelda ever made, but there'd probably be a lot of people that disagree with me and say it's Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild is excellent. But Ocarina had a magic that was just spectacular when it came out. You really felt like you were in some other mystical world and you'd been invited to participate in something really special. Breath of the Wild is just another super solid Zelda game. It's like a really good Mario, like Super Mario Wii, the one where you could, for the first time, have all 4 people on one screen at once, as opposed to just taking turns at the levels. That was a really, really great Mario game. Breath of the Wild is like that. It's just really, really, really solid, and still feels like The Legend of Zelda. But is it the greatest game of all time? Meh. I don't think so. It is very, very good, but I think Ocarina of Time felt better because Ocarina of Time was, like I said, almost a magical experience. Like, you couldn't believe how cool it was, and you were currently sitting there playing it. I haven't played Skyward Sword. I played Twilight Princess. Twilight Princess is also really damn good. But Ocarina of Time probably edges it out, mostly for nostalgia, because having played it on the Nintendo 64 when it came out, it holds that little special place for me. Although the water temple was goddamn awful on the Nintendo 64. They fixed that for the 3DS. Made it easier to navigate and more sensible to work out. But yeah, which mechanics weren't you into? We're still waiting to see what the sequel to Breath of the Wild is as well. Because from the teaser trailer that Nintendo did, geez, must be 2019 when they did that teaser at E3. That looks like a direct sequel. Yes, the equipment durability. Yes. That was never really a Zelda thing before. Yeah, there are definitely places where it's annoying. You can get stuck with literally, like, no weapons and have to retreat from something you've spent ages working towards just to go and find a few swords. Yeah, it's not the best thing. It gets easier when you find the Master Sword, but it doesn't really, does it? It just gets a little easier, not by much. Yeah, the equipment durability is not the greatest. It's okay. And it does bring something new to the game. But, yeah, I'm not, like you, I'm not a huge fan of that as a mechanic. Other Nintendo games. Nintendo themselves don't really release bad games. Yeah. I was a big fan of the wands. And then, yeah, you know, there's only certain places in the world where you could get them, and they were normally miles away from anywhere else. So you'd have to teleport to the nearest shrine, and then go and get your wand, and then teleport back to the nearest shrine to where you were, and then fight your way through things, and by the time you fought your way through things, you've used up your wand again, so... yeah, it had its downsides. The Blood Moons... I don't think that was a bad mechanic. I think it was a necessary mechanic to have them respawn, because otherwise you'd literally run out of weapons entirely at some point during the course of the game. So they had to happen, and they weren't horrible, but they could happen at the worst times. You could be in the middle of something really important, and suddenly, oh, Blood Moon, and everything that you've just killed respawns, and you basically have to start. Well, not start again, you're right in the middle of some massive base of enemies, and suddenly you're now surrounded by enemies instead of only having enemies in front of you, which is what you would have expected, having killed all the enemies behind you. But yeah, not the worst mechanic, just an annoyance, I would call that one. Phasmophobia's got to be up there. I'm a big fan of Phasmophobia. It is... Is it going to take the plumite or the jellies off me? No, it's not. Alright. So what I need, 6 rubber jelly and 7 plumite. Alright. Well, rubber jelly's easy to get. Rubber jelly you just get through trees. But the plumite, I'm actually going to have to go and find the rocks, and they generally turn up in the forest areas. Oh, I forgot to save the resource station that has the extra refinery on it. Oh well. Yeah, I mostly play solo. I'd play solo and play with family. Because none of my gaming friends want to play it, but I've got some family that play it. I've got a 11-year-old niece who's really into horror stuff. She's finished Amnesia... she's finished all 3 Slender Men on her own, and those games are terrifying. Well, I think they are. And I'm not normally into horror games, or thriller games, or any of those sorts of things, but Phasmophobia I really liked as a concept, and I gave it a go and liked it even more, although my first games went really, really bad. My first game especially was abortive. I couldn't get past the threshold of the house. That's how scared I was in my very, very first game of Phasmophobia. But I did get over that, and now I still play it a lot. I actually haven't played it in a couple of days, though. I should check. There's probably been more patches. Since he's developing that extremely fast, I'm really hoping for a new map. But yeah, Phasmophobia is pretty excellent. What else is there that's really, really good? Is this Plumite? This is Plumite. Oh, okay. We don't have to go and find a forest. 7 Plumite. Well, that looks like 7 Plumite. That's 10. I do need to find 5 more rubber jellies, but that shouldn't be that hard. Yeah, I've heard the VR isn't as good. I haven't been brave enough to play it in VR. I have a VR headset. I've got an Oculus One that I play using link cable. But yes, I haven't actually been brave enough to play Phasmophobia in VR yet. When I do, that will definitely be a streamed event, because I think that will be something good for other people to watch, me being absolutely and utterly terrified as I get face to face with a ghost in a whole new way. Oh, another invasion. Alright, I really want the jelly. So we'll throw one of these off and throw another one off. We've got the jelly, so we've got 4 now, and I've got 1 over there, so I need 1 more. Oh, I don't want to get creamed, but you can get good blocks out of invasions if they're not too high a level. It was originally designed as a VR experience. So he'd always intended it to be a VR game. The VR just has taken longer to develop. Oh, I'm going to run out of battery before I get through his batteries. Oh no, I'm dead. Oh, that was really close. That was really close. Oh wow, he had a lot of battery. That's good, that means I get a lot of battery. And some Venture Hail rifles, which I don't really have any use for anymore, but oh well, I'll get some. A couple of rocket boosters back there. Those big wheels are good too. They don't have the torque that these do, but they're very fast. But yeah, VR, Phasmophobia. Are there any other good VR games? No Man's Sky. Oh, the Vive headset is nice. I was looking at getting a new one because I got in just before the Oculus Facebook lock-in, and I'm not a big fan of Facebook. I don't mind what they do on a general day-to-day basis, but their whole control of your information, I'm not a fan of that. I think that's a bit underhanded and crappy, so I got in before Oculus was locked to a Facebook account. So I have an Oculus account. I don't have a Facebook account for my Oculus Quest. But yeah, once, I think it's next year, January, I have to have a Facebook account to use my Oculus Quest. I'm going to get rid of it and go to something better. But I might go the Valve Index as well, because that also looks excellent. Although I don't think the Index will have wireless, whereas I think the Vive, you can already get the wireless control. What are they called? Sensors. So yeah, it might be worth getting the Vive just for the wireless. Whereas I don't think the Steam one is going to go wireless, but we'll see. There's a couple of others coming out as well. There's an Amazon one I think I've seen somewhere. I've lost a rubber jelly somewhere. Damn. Alright, well that's okay. It means we need 2 more. Yeah, both good headsets. The tetheredness, like the one thing that's great about the Oculus Quest is just not, there's no wires when you're playing certain things. Admittedly, the only things I have that I can play unwired is Beat Saber, and I've got a cool fishing game. But they're great. I mean, I can literally be, you know, anywhere. Well, anywhere except moving in a car. But you can sit down and, you know, you can play, well, not sit down. Beat Saber, you really want to be standing. But the fishing game, you can absolutely sit down. And there's no wires. But then for everything else, I basically play through Steam VR. Pretty much everything else I've got is a Steam VR game. Oh, no, wait, I've got one Origin game. Because Electronic Arts Squadrons, the Star Wars game, that's a lot of fun too. Yeah, the Quest works really well. Yeah, it doesn't have the resolution of the other ones, but the fact that I'm then able to pick it up and go to a mate's house and not have to have him install Steam VR and a game so that we can play a game is great. But yeah, it does have its downsides, and that downside for me is Facebook. I'm just not a fan of their business practices. I disagree with the way they do business and the way they collect your information. So, once my Quest is locked to Facebook, that is when I will be getting rid of it. Until then, I can deal. Five. That is 5. Cool. So that's everything I need. Not even going to bother to go over there. I can take this back to Crafty Mike, wherever he is, over that way. I have the same great things to say about the Switch. The portability was amazing. The first time I actually used it, I was like, wow, this is excellent. I can be absolutely anywhere and playing these games. I don't have to be anywhere near, you know, a TV or anything, and I'm playing a console game. And there's rumors that there's going to be a Switch Pro, or we have no idea what they're going to call it, but a more powerful Switch coming. So that'll be interesting to see if there's a new Switch that's even more powerful than the first Switch. People are debating, because there's no actual announcement from Nintendo, or at least there hasn't been last I looked. It's been a while since I've looked though. That it might just be a resolution upgrade. So it might be powerful enough to play in mobile mode in 1080p without stuttering. Because at the moment it plays in 720p in mobile mode, and in docked mode it plays in 1080, but some games, because they're actually designed to really play in 720 on the Switch, stutter kind of badly. So for example, you can get Arc for the Switch, but it plays horribly. Yeah, so something like that might finally play a bit better, but we shall see. If it is good, I might get one and give my current one to my nieces. They've already got one, but if they had one each, they'd be pretty happy. Alright, Mike, what are you going to show me now? You're going to show me about how the fabricator automatically refines things when it needs it? Not really sure. We'll see. Yeah, so they bypass the refinery. Technically, we already know this, Mike. You showed us a while ago. I'd be amazed if it was 4K. I think that's excessive. I very much doubt it would even be 4K in docked mode, because that would be some serious power in a little console. Unless the Switch becomes, you know, 10 times the size. That being said, there are 4K gaming phones. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think 4K is a thing. Maybe docked. Maybe. Like I said, there are 4K gaming phones, so it's not entirely impossible, but it's so unlikely that maybe it'll be 4K in docked mode. I don't even have a 4K monitor. I have two 1080 monitors. My primary is 240 Hz for first-person shooters and things like League of Legends where reflexes really do matter. And my secondary is only 60 because it's the one that I use for watching videos and stuff. Watching movies. Having the dollars to fund it is meaningless if it's not really doable, and I don't think it's really doable. I think it's more a matter of, like, the technology doesn't exist, and even if they invented it, it would be, well, I suppose it's not like they haven't invented first edition stuff before. We'll see. I just don't see it happening. I don't see it being 4K. I think that's excessive. I think having 1080 on the go is what people want. Because Breath of the Wild is a classic example. It looks much better when you're playing on a docked television than it does when you're walking around handheld. You can play it walking around handheld, and that's great, because I can play it on the bus, I can play it on the train. But actually sitting down in front of a TV and having that big screen 1080 experience is superior. Very, very, very much superior. So I think what they want is that 1080 experience, even for people who are, you know, on a bus. No, yeah, never count Nintendo out. They've surprised us with stuff before. I mean, people complain about the Wiimotes, but, you know, the Wiimotes led to most of the, to the beginnings of VR technology. All the motion controllers that you've got now, the first versions of those were all worked exactly like Wiimotes worked. Admittedly, that wasn't Nintendo. Who did motion controllers first? No, I'm wrong. It was Nintendo. Because the Nintendo Power Glove, back in the late 80s, early 90s, was the same technology that the Wiimote eventually used. So, yeah, Nintendo did it first, and they did it long before the Wiimote. There's actually some amazing stuff with Nintendo. You can go and look at some of their previous business enterprises. So Nintendo is the same age as the Washington Times. Yeah, the remote and nunchuck. You've never heard people call it the Wiimote? Oh, yeah, well, because it's like a remote control, but it's for the Wii, so people call it a Wiimote. Might just be me. But yeah, Nintendo was originally founded in the same year and month that the Washington Times was founded. I don't remember when that was, but it's a real long time ago, because Nintendo was a playing card company. That's what they used to make, just cards. And somewhere along the line they decided to get into consoles, and they made the first console, the Nintendo Entertainment System, and that was a big hit, and then they basically retooled most of the company to make video games. But yeah, they've been around an extremely long time, and they've had some other business ventures as well. They used to make a lot of different things. But these days they make plushies and video games. They still make cards. I really actually want a deck of Nintendo playing cards, the authentic ones that come out of the authentic Nintendo printery. Because, like, if you buy a set of Mario playing cards or whatever, they probably aren't actually printed at the original Nintendo printery. They're printed by someone else. I don't really want to talk about it on this stream. Alright, I will, and I'll try and do it. What other business? The Washington Times, the newspaper, I'll look it up. When was the Washington Times founded? Washington Post? Or is it the New York Times? Washington Post founded 6th of December 1877. No, that seems too early. Maybe it was the New York Times. (1851). All right, so they're both extremely early. Maybe it was 1877. Nintendo founded 1889. So Nintendo's been around for 130 years, give or take a year. 23rd of September 1889. Because they were a playing card company, so they were essentially a kind of printery. And yeah, the other businesses that they did, no, I won't talk about them. Some of them are naughty and not at all go in with Nintendo's current child-friendly image. But if you really, really want to know, you can look up what else have Nintendo done, and you'll probably eventually find it. And yeah, they moved away from that very quickly. Same as Sega. Sega were into more arcades than actual arcade machines. I'm trying to remember now what Sega was. They used to supply entertainment machines, so like kind of like poker machines, one-arm bandits, similar to that sort of concept, to the American military. And then, yeah, they became a games company later. There's a fair few stories like that as well. It's also really weird, like with the Sega... I want to go back to my original base and use that trading post. With the Sega-Nintendo rivalry, that these days Mario and Sonic are often found alongside each other in the same games, where once they were bitter rivals. Now they go to the Olympics together every couple of years. Can I reach him? I can't reach him. Oh, there we go. But yeah, Nintendo's been there a long time as a business, and they were a successful business, and now they're another very successful business. And, okay, look, they run it as a business, they do make profit, but they are less greedy than most other companies that are running it for a profit. Like Electronic Arts, super greedy. Blizzard's become worse. We all saw the Cyberpunk 2077 disaster. That was very much... Once they became publicly traded, love of games went away and it became about making dollars. But yeah, Nintendo... I mean, I suppose it's not true that they're not entirely altruistic. They still like to make their dollars, but there's certainly a lot less microtransactions and nefarious gameplay mechanics to get you spending more money. No, they didn't make not safe for work cards. They made cards. The thing that they did that's not safe for work... Alright, I'll just tell you. Have you ever heard of the concept of love hotels in Japan? You find them in other places in the world as well, but Japan's where they're really, really common. So you, instead of paying for a room for the night, you pay for a room by the hour because you have one specific purpose in mind, and there's a reason why they're called love hotels. So yes, Nintendo ran a chain of love hotels for many years. Nintendo love hotels. Yeah. It's not something you would expect of Nintendo. It is, I would consider it a stain on their record. It's probably something they wish they'd never done now. But they did do it, and they can't undo it, so they're stuck with it. I'm going to get a bit of distance because this could go bad. Is this the same one as before? This is the same one as before. I'll try and get behind him before I attack him. Oh dear, that's not going to work because he's got just as much armor on his rear as he does on his front. And just as many guns. That's kind of impressive. Whew. My shield held just long enough. Yeah. So that was not not something that they're hugely proud of, but it is something that is irrevocably on their history unless they want to change business name now to distance themselves away from it. But it's too late to change from being Nintendo now because, well, you've been Nintendo. All your best things has happened under the brand name Nintendo. So the fact that one of your worst things has happened under the brand name Nintendo, you're just going to have to deal with it. But yeah, I mean, look, that's a minor blip on the Nintendo radar, so to speak. And while I'm sure they wish it wasn't part of their company history, it's a small thing, and it's very, very long in the past that it's like, well, yes, we did. We wish we hadn't, and there's nothing we can do about the fact that we did now. Oh, it's about to be night, and I've got no battery. There we go. Yeah, but the first time I heard about it, I was very surprised and thought it was pretty funny. Yeah, the number of people that know about it is extremely small. But there are YouTubers who make videos on things like that, and that's how I found out about it. I'm pretty sure Nintendo's not the only company to have something in its history that's like, well, I wish we hadn't done that. But I mean, other than that, look at what they've done. They make really good games. They make all the best kid-friendly games. The games that are, you know, there is nothing in this game that isn't suitable for a child. And yet, adults find it extremely enjoyable. Like all the Zelda games, for example. You can't see... I don't see someone under the age of, say, probably 10, maybe a bit older, ever finishing Breath of the Wild. That's way too big and way too hard. And yet, you see kids that young playing all the time. They certainly enjoy the game. The fact that, you know, it might be beyond them skill-wise to ever actually finish it. And even then, it might not. I might be underestimating how good 9 and 10-year-olds are these days at video games. It's been a long time. But, yeah, Nintendo makes stuff like that that appeals to all ages and are spectacular and stand the test of time. Like, you know, those games are still there decades later, either via sequels or sometimes the original just stands up on its own. I mean, look at Mario Kart. There are racing games out there, and there are, you know, realistic simulators with amazing graphics and all that stuff. Then there's Mario Kart. Mario Kart is great, and I mean, don't get me wrong, there are other kart games, but those other kart games are all derivatives of Mario Kart. For the Super NES? Was it Super NES or was it NES? I think it was Super NES was the first one. But yeah, they're spectacular. So Nintendo invents stuff like that, and it is a real testament to them that they are that good at doing those things that frequently. Alright, it might be time to move base, because I'm starting to get these multiple kilometers away. So that means that I've now sort of exhausted the area around me, and when it needs to place something special, a special piece of terrain for a new mission, it needs to place it so far away that I have to travel kilometers to get anywhere near it. So it might be time to move base. For now, we'll do what we normally do, and we'll do the closest ones first. Yeah, I'm going to pack up that base now. And we'll just do these missions. Like I said, closest one to where we finished the previous mission until we finished all the missions. And then we'll look for a new spot for a new base and a new trading station to consider our home trading station. Yeah, Mario Kart, Super Smash Brothers is another one. Like, that came out of left field. Who expected Nintendo to make a fighting game? I mean, it doesn't suit the brand to have a fighting game, and yet they managed to make one that's, you know, it's a fighting game, but it's so non-violent looking that it's got a very low rating, so just about anyone can play it. And it's also so good, there are now esports championships for Super Smash Brothers. It's actually one of the few fighting games I've never played. I've never actually played Super Smash Brothers. My brother has it for his Switch. Well, my nieces have it for their Switch. My brother, technically, is the person who bought it, and I believe he's played it, but I don't reckon he'd spend much time on it. Nah, I don't bother taking a picture of the base, because I can build a better one. It wasn't important enough to really need a snapshot of. I'm not going to be trying to rebuild it as it was. In fact, the next base I build will probably have a resource refinery station on it, and possibly even resource refining, storage and construction, so I can build blocks. We'll see, it depends. I've got 3 licenses. Normally by the time I've got a Hawkeye license, I start building bases where you can actually construct components as well. Only 1 guy dropping in, that's weird. Oh, 2. That was rather easy. Kind of expecting that, to be honest. I haven't looked in flight blocks. There might be some flight blocks by now. Yes, stud boosters. It's a start. Might put them on the rear anyway. Got no fuel tanks yet, but they'll still assist. Give me a little boost if I'm trying to climb a hill or something. Alright. 1.9 Ks to this Samsite ridge. I'm supposed to be collecting Luxite and cutting down 100 trees. So I have to cut down every tree we go past from now on. And let's head to that Samsite. And collect Luxite when I go past them too. Anything good there? Not really, but oh well. Still collect the blocks, because lots and lots of blocks is what you want. In this game, all about blocks. There was a good Lego Creator game as well that I never played, that I heard was actually very good. They'd finally managed to make a Lego game that was the Lego game that you wanted. It had a campaign mode, and it wasn't... All the Lego games are good, don't get me wrong. So Lego Harry Potter, Lego Star Wars, Lego Doctor Who. They were all cool. But they weren't free-form Lego. It was always limited. You could only build the things that it was programmed for you to build. But apparently they did make a sort of free-form Lego game where you could build anything you wanted, and it was supposed to be pretty good. But I never played it, and it did drop off the radar very quick. So maybe it was not very good, but good, and the fact that it was good was such a surprise that people called it very good, and that's why it dropped off the radar so quick, because it was just better than expected as opposed to actually excellent. But I should really look that up, find it, and give it a go. What the hell are collectors? Oh, here. Oh, I've only got the Scotty. That's the massive one. I don't really want the massive one. I need more of these 2x2 ones. Yeah, I'd never really played many of them, but I did play a few of them enough to go, okay, look, this has an amusing gameplay loop. They're like platformers. They're like 3D platformers, like Mario 64, one of the first ones, and geez, I don't know what else. Most of the Marios that come out these days are like that. Most of them are like that, with puzzles to solve, and they're all very good. Like, they continuously surprise you and are reasonably entertaining, and they're funny, like the Lego movies are funny. They've got the same sense of humour in the Lego games that the Lego movie has. So they deal with things like, you know, Marvel superheroes, but they deal with it the way the Lego movies deal with superheroes. They poke fun at bits of the superhero movies genre that are silly and that you forgive because it's a superhero genre movie. You normally just go, you know, I'll let them get away with that because everything else in the movie is really cool and stuff like that. But they're not great. They don't last forever. They are very linear. Once you've played them, they're kind of done. Because you know where everything goes and how to do it. I suppose there's a little bit because there's still the actual platforming, so there's still skill involved. So you can sort of play them again to see if your skill is better and you can get through in better times or collect more collectibles than you did on the first run through. But every single one of them is really, really solidly built. But it's never been the proper Lego experience, which is putting blocks together. And that's kind of where Terratech, I thought Terratech was an excellent game, because it gives you that without being cumbersome. It's simple, and yet has all the depth that you really want out of a block building game. But there is supposed to be one that's good. I just haven't ever actually played it. There is another block building game that I played that had potential, was in early access, and I played it for a little while and then gave up on it, and I think I refunded it because it had potential, but it certainly wasn't living up to what it had advertised so far. They advertised it as being something great, and I'm like, okay, look, this has the beginnings of greatness, but it's not great now, so I would like a refund. I very rarely refund games, but I did refund that one. Yeah, Terratech's just good. Even in its very, very earliest early access iterations, it was very good, because the block building is very simple and there was enough to do to keep you entertained for hours. And having the creative mode has always been great as well. So yeah, Terratech is one of the exemplars of the block building genre. I don't know if it really is a genre. Kind of is. Oh, there's Luxite. I was wondering where all the Luxite was, but here's some Luxite. Alright, Luxite's worth a lot of money, so I should drop my refining base here and collect this Luxite to actually refine. Because refined Luxite, Luminite, I think. is worth a lot. And I mean, this sort of block building game, there are other games that are called block building games, but I don't, they're not the ones I'm talking about. So some people might consider Minecraft a block building game, but it's not really the same thing. You're not building a thing that is made of blocks and then that thing becomes a separate entity. It's always attached to something, like the ground in Minecraft. So that's a bit of a different thing. I don't actually want those to go into the thing. There we go. Don't get me wrong, Minecraft is an excellent game. I've played Minecraft on this channel, in fact. Minecraft, some of my earliest videos from before I had a microphone are of Minecraft, and some of my more recent games is looking at Minecraft RTX, since I have an RTX-enabled graphics card. But yeah, it's not the same as these games. It's definitely a different genre to these games. Alright, I still don't have enough space. What do we do about that? Let's add some more refineries. Can't really see properly. I might not even be able to do it until I actually put the conveyor belts on. Right. There we go. Yeah, we'll just use all of them. Right, I'm currently driving that, which is good, so I can go into load tech, delete the existing resource refiner, take a snapshot of my current resource station, and next time I load it, I'll get this big one. Yeah, there's not a heap of games as good as Minecraft that do what Minecraft does. Minecraft does something relatively original. I know it was built off other games. There's one called Dwarf Fortress that I never played and assorted other things, but Minecraft pulled all the mechanics from those disparate games together into one excellent game. That's pretty hard to beat. I'll give an honourable mention to, and I can't remember its name, so I'm going to have to go and look it up, Fortresscraft Evolved, which is like Minecraft in the sort of block sense. Graphically, it's both better and worse. It has higher resolution graphics, but they actually look crappier. It's another game made by, I think, just one guy. And it's all about... Essentially, the game's all about conveyor belts. It's all about building a factory that produces and all these interconnected components to produce more and more complex materials and complex machines so that you can take on an alien invader. Well, I suppose it's not an alien invader because you're the one that's crash landed on its planet. But I thought it was very good. It's getting a bit dated now, and it does look pretty crap, because it never looked that great to begin with, and now the graphics are really dated. But it was good, it was clever, it was well made for something that was made by just a single person. Can't find an anchor spot. Looks like I should be able to anchor there. There we go. Yeah. A lot of people try to compare Terraria and Minecraft, but the fact that Terraria is 2D, you kind of can't. Don't get me wrong, Terraria is also great, and you'll find a crapload of Terraria videos on this channel. I'm pretty sure I did a live stream where in a journey character that had damn near everything, I kill every boss in the game. Well, every boss that you have to kill. I skipped some of the optional bosses. That took about 2 hours because I couldn't find a Plantera bulb for ages. But I wouldn't really compare it to Minecraft. Minecraft also has an infinite world, like it never ends, whereas Terraria is bound at either end of the map. And even if you select a large map, it's still bound at either end of the map. There's Starbound, which is very much like Terraria, and there are multiple planets, so the planets aren't bound at either end. They go all the way around and you come back to your starting point because the planets are supposedly spherical, but in essence they are circular. But then you can actually go to other planets, and the map is procedurally generated, so there are an infinite number of planets as well to go to, and they're always different every time you start a new game. So that's kind of good, but again, I wouldn't really compare them to Minecraft. Minecraft does its own thing in the 3D space. There are other games that are somewhat comparable to Minecraft, and I will call up 7 Days to Die, which is similar, and that's a survival crafting zombie horde game, but it works like Minecraft. All the blocks are 3D blocks, everything is made of a 3D block. The entire world is made of 3D blocks, there's nothing else in it except for things that can walk around, mobs, and 3D blocks. It's a voxel-based game. And while that's also very good, and one of the games that I've played a lot and have a lot of hours sunk into, it's not Minecraft. Minecraft again has that Nintendo-esque quality, where it's super accessible. It doesn't matter how old you are, there's something in Minecraft for you. You know, either you're an older player and you want to be challenged, so you go and do the hardest things in the game, or you're a younger player and you drop into creative and you make a dinosaur with a roller coaster on its back and really enjoy yourself for a few hours. I once built a scale model of the Titanic. It wasn't perfectly accurate, but from side on and front on it looked exactly like the Titanic. It was correct. And then we set it on fire. It was really fun. Once again, my oldest niece, when she was really young, she was really into the Titanic. She knew everything there was to know about it. She was the one that actually told me the Titanic had 4 smokestacks, but only 3 engines. So one of those smokestacks did nothing. It just made the ship look bigger for the Americans, because the Americans wouldn't have, or I might not get this done in time, the Americans wouldn't actually have been interested in it, because they would have thought, oh, it's a piddly little 3-engine steamer, it's not very powerful, don't know why you called it the Titanic, and none of them would have ridden on it. So they added a 4th smokestack and just didn't tell anyone that there was no physical connection to that smokestack and the engines. It was just a useless smokestack. Wow, that guy was easy. I suppose I did get to shoot his underbelly, which you don't normally get to do. But yeah, Titanic, 4 smokestacks, only 3 of them actually did anything. One of them was not even connected to the engine and was basically used as a lookout post for scouting the ahead. Originally they were going to put a deck in it that you could actually go up, like an observation deck, so they would let everyone know that yes, it's a fake smokestack, but you can go up there and get a really good view of the ocean around. But I think they ran out of budget or something, and so they didn't end up doing it. I can't remember what it was. And there have been replicas of the Titanic where that was instituted. So the 4th smokestack has in fact got a observation deck in that 4th smokestack. And in fact, some of the replicas being electrical engines, not diesel engines, and not needing 4 massive smokestacks for coal boilers. In fact, they just need 1 for diesel fumes to run the generators, to run the electric motors. Have several observation decks in several of the smokestacks. One of them is a stationary boat. It's a remake of the Titanic. It looks like the Titanic, but it's never gone anywhere. It's just a casino that sits on the water somewhere. If I remember correctly, that might not be the Titanic. It might be the Britannic that one's made to look like. Yeah, you can learn a lot of cool stuff. Watching YouTube videos or having people who obsess about things. And my niece obsesses about a lot of things. So when she decides she likes something, she eventually learns everything there is to know about that thing. And as a result, I absorb some of that. And I like that sort of thing anyway. Just did you know facts? Some of my favourite things. I know lots of did you know facts. Alright, so that's all the luxite that I needed. Ooh, is that a giant anchor? No, it's just a giant block. Alright. What's that? Is that their... What is that? Oh, explosive bolts. So I've never really used the explosive bolts, but that's so you can separate techs into multiple techs or something. I don't know what it's really used for. I've never made use of them myself. Yeah, there's a lot of good Did You Know channels. I recommend Today I Found Out. That's an excellent one. Simon Whistler. He has... In fact, all the Simon Whistler channels are probably pretty good. And he has like 7 or 8 channels. I say 7 or 8. I think it's more than that. Wait, let me bring up... What are all the Simon Whistler channels where you can learn cool stuff? There's side projects, there's geographics, top 10s, business blaze, highlight history, the casual criminalist, mega projects, biographics. Today I Found Out. I think that's everything. Yeah, he does a lot of channels, and they all deal with different topics. But the Today I Found Out is like the here's all the cool things I know, did you know topics. And then the other ones are more focused. They'll give you like everything you need to know about one particular thing every day. But yeah, he's super prolific. And he does YouTube for a living the way you would do it if you approached it as a proper business, which is to have multiple channels rather than wait for one channel to become super popular and then make all your money off that one channel and then start branching out and doing other channels. He just has a whole bunch of channels, and each one of those channels makes money because they're all useful. But yeah, his Today I Found Out channel is good for Did You Know facts. Top 10s, same thing. You know, top 10 most expensive landmarks, top 10 worst criminals in history, stuff like that. Oh, there was a good one, which was, it sounds awful, but it's actually good. So the top 10 best terrorists in this case, being terrorists who were so goddamn awful at the whole terrorism thing, they were the best one. Because if you were going to have a terrorist attack happen, you want this guy to do it. Because this is the terrorist attack that was so badly managed that all of them got caught or things like that. And there's stuff like you know, terrorists that blew themselves up or terrorists who got caught doing stupid things. So there was 9/11, and I know 9/11 is still to this day a touchy subject for some people, but before 9/11, there was the World Trade Center bombing where they blew up a car bomb in the garage of one of the two towers and caused millions of dollars of damage, and that damage had to be repaired, and so on and so forth. The terrorists who undertook that, they used a rental truck, and they got caught because the guy who rented the truck tried to go back and get his deposit for the truck that they put the car bomb in. So they caught him, and then he gave up everyone else. Now, the ringleader for these guys, so first off, that guy was an idiot. He tried to get his deposit back on a truck that they used in a bombing in one of the most, you know, notorious bombings in history to that point. So that guy was an absolute idiot, and he got caught, and when he got caught, he gave up almost everyone else. And they never got the ringleader, because the ringleader had gone back to Pakistan or Iraq or Iran or wherever it was that he was from. But then they found out later that that ringleader, who they'd been trying to catch for however long, he'd got himself blown up in a training accident. So he had been training other future terrorists and blown himself up with his own bomb. There was another guy who mailed a mail bomb to somewhere, but he hadn't put enough postage on it, and he'd used his actual return address. So he got the package back, but you see, when a mail package gets returned to the return address, what they do is they wrap it in a clean sheet of paper and put the return address on the front, so it doesn't end up trying to go back to the original place it was supposed to go. So when he got the package, he didn't recognize it, and he ripped it open and blew himself up with his own mail bomb. So yeah, some of the best, if you could call them best, but yeah, the terrorist attacks that you want to happen, the ones where the terrorists fail so miserably that they kill themselves. This is another nice spot for a base. I might set up here. I might have to go really, really far to do some of the missions that I've already got, but this is a nice spot for a base. No, don't even need the charge. Alright. The mail bomb is hilarious. That because of the way that, I think it was the British Post. The British Post deals with return packages. They rewrap it in a new clean piece of paper. And as a result, he just didn't recognize it when it returned. And used his own return address. Like, actually put his return address on it. That's one of the things that, you know, you're trained to look for as a mail inspector. Is, does it have no return address? If it doesn't have a return address, it's a suspicious package. So he's put a return address on it, but he's put his own return address on it. So he got the bomb back and then blew himself up by opening it. That's just... wow. Alright, I don't want to spend too much time building a base here, but I do want to just set up an anchor, a few blocks, and... oops. Oh dear. And some shields. I don't have a GSO rotating anchor, do I? No, GeoCorp. I do have GSO ones, but now we'll go with the GSO stationary for now. Right, we will put on top of this some batteries. Some power. Surround it in shield bubbles and repair bubbles. And put all that within some protection. Can I actually go higher? I could, couldn't I? Let's just use a few 1 blocks to make it easier to do. But yeah, the whole did you know thing. Pub facts, some people call them pub facts. It wouldn't surprise me at all to find that there's a YouTube channel out there just called Pub Facts. I recently, in fact, got into an argument with my sister about one of the most well-known but incorrectly stated pub facts. I bet you've heard it. Tomato is a fruit. Now, there's a lot of nuance to tomato being a fruit. Tomato is a fruit botanically, but culinarily, it's a vegetable. So, botanically, cucumber is a fruit. Eggplant is a fruit. Carrot is a root. Potatoes are tubers. Onions are... What the hell's an onion again? I think onion's just a root as well. But yeah, tomato is not a fruit. Tomato is a vegetable. If you're going to call anything else a vegetable, so if you're going to say tomatoes a fruit, not a vegetable, as soon as you say not a vegetable, you've got it wrong. Tomato is a fruit and a vegetable. Tomato is botanically a fruit, and culinarily, in the kitchen, it is a vegetable. And the whole thing actually comes from, and you can find it on the Wikipedia page for either tomato or vegetable. The whole thing that actually comes from is one dude way, way, way back somewhere, somewhen, there was a tax on vegetables, and the tax on fruit was smaller, so he tried to claim that tomatoes are technically fruits. And so it went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled that no, tomatoes are vegetables, because if we put a tax on vegetables, but a tomato is a fruit, then there's no such thing as a vegetable, and we've put a tax on something that doesn't exist. I also like to sometimes say, though, tomatoes are fruits, because then there's no such thing as vegetables, and vegans can't exist. They're just a figment of my imagination. But that's just a joke. It's not real, of course. Science does recognize the term vegetable, but when you say vegetable, it basically means any piece of any plant. So the leaves, the stems, the roots. But when someone says to you, tomato is a fruit, you can say to them, yeah, but it's also a vegetable. And then get into a big argument with them and probably have to look up the Wikipedia page of tomato and show them why it's both a fruit and a vegetable. It's probably not worth actually arguing over. It's probably worth letting them believe tomato is a fruit, not a vegetable, but you'll know better. I ended up in a big argument with my sister because I knew this fact already, that tomato is in fact a vegetable because we use it as a vegetable. But she refused to acknowledge it because she was like, no, it's a fruit. It's a fruit. Everyone says it's a fruit. I'm like, yeah, everyone says it's a fruit, but nobody knows why it's a fruit. As soon as you know why it's a fruit, you realize it's a fruit and a vegetable. It's both. No, don't quote me on that. I'll get in trouble with vegans. They're very organized. Look, I've got no problem with vegans for the main part. I just couldn't do it myself. Depending on their reason for being vegan, I'm actually with them as well. It's speciest, so the way we treat animals is pretty terrible. It's extremely exploitative. It's up there with slavery. We banned slavery a very long time ago in most of the Western world, but we still enslave animals very, very happily and continuously. So I absolutely 100% understand their viewpoint from that point of view. Is this the charger? Oh, it is. I just couldn't do it because I like meat too much. But as an actual principle, I'm like, yeah, I get it in principle, and it makes a lot of sense, and it's fair and right that we should do something about the way we treat animals. I'm sure there's something better we could do. And I'd eat smeat. Smeat is the artificial meat, not like the stuff they make from plants and beetroot and that, but the cloned cells. So it's never actually seen a cow, but it's made from cow. It's just cloned cow cells. They grow in bags. It looks awful, but it tastes like cow. But a lot of people don't like it because it's like, it looks gross and it tastes funny. And it does taste different because it's never been a real cow, so it's never actually used those muscles. It's just cow muscle that's never twitched. Yeah, I think that's another thing that vegans are somewhat upset about, is that there's a surprisingly large number of people that agree with them in principle. Because it's like, yes, we are totally exploiting all these species and it's wrong, but I'm not going to stop eating meat because I like it too much. And that's, again, it's fair enough. Yes, that's a really good reason for us to be super hypocritical, but oh man, what is that? Was that the main base that just shot me with something epic? Oh yeah, see, he's got missiles on him. So if I'm lucky, I'll be able to get those missiles. Whew. I should be able to take him out just with my mortars from here. If I wasn't targeting that guy, I'd target that one. This might take a while, but I'm perfectly safe doing it from here, so I'd rather do it from here. Nice cheese strut, bit of Gouda, some Jarlsberg, bit of Brie. Alright, where's the way down? What? There we go. Ah, I didn't get any of the missile launchers. That's a shame. Alright, I've only cut down 25 trees. Wow. Oh man, 6.8 Ks away. 5.8 Ks away. Yeah, so those were clearly in the other direction from my previous base to the way that I travelled. So they are going to suck because I'm going to have to go all the way over there to go and get those missions finished. Sometimes you can't cancel them, and sometimes you can cancel them, but when you re-accept them, they appear in the exact same space again. So I am going to have to go very, very far to get them. So we'll go and do that one later. We'll go and do these super far ones first. Ah. Oh no, that's the big one. I don't want the big one. I wanted the small one. Oh well. That's not a bad idea. That would mean I'd have to design a faster tech, and a tech that could survive all the things I would have to deal with on the way over there. I generally tend to just stay armed, because you never know what good blocks you're going to come across as you travel. And if I do design a faster tech, chances are I'll end up using parts that I have on this tech, so I won't be able to re-summon this tech in time, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I tend to travel at the slow speed, but have all my defensive and offensive capability ready, just in case I need it. You might get invaded, and invasions, they're always a good source of really good blocks. That's just me. I'm sure there's plenty of people that do it different, and maybe it works for them, but I've been caught out in a crap tech too many times. And it is just time. Time spent. Unless you're in a real rush, like you're doing a speed run of Terratech C, an invasion. Let's get the high ground and see how that works out for me. Really depends. Sometimes the high ground isn't any good because the tech that you end up fighting has got really good top armor. Sometimes they don't, of course. That looks kind of the same as the other one. And again, get him before his shields actually engage, and he's gone. Nothing major there, but I will take the batteries. Those wheels are pretty good. I'll tell you what I could do. I could keep the tech I've currently got and just put some fast wheels instead of the super torquey, tanky wheels on. So maybe we'll do that. Engage the build beam, take these wheels off. Can put some big boys on. Maybe. Yep, see I can't even... Oh yes I can, just maybe. No I can't. I suppose I could have it ride high. Might get there a bit faster like this, we'll see. Depends on the terrain. Alright, that guy's so small I can just ignore him. Whoops. Oh. That's what happens when you're not actually looking where you're going. And I am supposed to be taking down trees? Trees. I'm not onto the rocks one yet. 100 trees. So I should actually be killing all the trees that I pass. Or at least as many trees as are convenient to kill as I pass. See, like that one I could probably get, but trying to climb up that hill with these wheels, not a great idea. Yeah, that's a bit faster. A little under halfway now. Don't want to go too crazy, but I will still have to periodically stop to actually get these resources, because waste not, want not. The money is always useful. It is easier and cheaper to buy blocks than it is to make them using resources. Alright, so it is time to sell. Oh, there's a tech coming for me, so we'll kill him first and then we'll shoot her. That's a reference to Jurassic Park, at least I assume so anyway. Robert Muldoon, the game warden, the Velociraptor Wrangler. Essentially what Chris Pratt does in the newest ones. He was the original of those guys. Although Chris Pratt gets more agency in his role. He's not left out in the cold by the Jurassic World scientists and organizers and whatever else they are called and do. I did like Jurassic World. Jurassic World 2, that was pretty bad. Jurassic World 3, they got the director of Jurassic World back on board, so I think it could be better. You've never seen the original Jurassic Park? Ooh. I don't know how it'd be for someone to watch the original Jurassic Park now, because that's one of the first big CG movies ever. And it's a bit dated, but it was really, really good when it came out. First of all, we hadn't seen dinosaurs like that. You know, every dinosaur prior to Jurassic Park had been claymation, so stop and go animation. They'd also been less scientifically accurate. Admittedly, Jurassic Park wasn't very scientifically accurate. Even for things that they knew at the time, it wasn't very scientifically accurate, because they chose to go with what people would recognize and expect. They already knew that raptors had feathers, and they knew that the velociraptors, as they are in Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, that's not velociraptors, those are utahraptors. Velociraptors are about the size of a Labrador. They're like 3.5, 4 feet tall, much smaller than that. Still super fast, and they still believe that they were probably pack hunters from the way you find them in groups. And yeah, just their eating habits. They always seem to have the same thing in their stomach, so they seem to have shared kills. So they assume that they were intelligent and pack hunters. But yeah, the ones as represented in Jurassic Park, it's the wrong raptor. It's not even a velociraptor, it's a utahraptor that they represent. And they already knew at that point that they had feathers. It was another 10 years before we knew that the T-Rex had feathers. There's a really cool, somewhere on the internet, rendering of what they think a T-Rex looked like now, and it really looks like a giant seagull. It's pretty funny. It's a really, really, really big seagull. Okay, it's not exactly a seagull. It's got a very big, thick-looking head with menacing sharp teeth instead of a beak on it. But there are some seagull-like parts to it. The way it moves and the way it... Yeah. Anyway, we know now that basically every dinosaur, or almost every dinosaur, had feathers. And that they weren't necessarily cold-blooded. They were more than likely warm-blooded and used those feathers for temperature control as much as anything else, as well as plumage, like for the way birds use it now to impress a mate. But yeah, Jurassic Park came before most of that, but not all of it. So some of it can be excused, but then in Jurassic World they sort of explained why. They don't think that adult T-Rexes had feathers. Oh, really? Oh, I hadn't read that. The latest knowledge that I had up until now was that they thought they all had feathers. That would actually make sense, that the baby had downy feathers and then it would drop off as they got older. Anyway, yeah, Jurassic Park. Jurassic World, they explain why the dinosaurs look like the dinosaurs from everyone's prior memories, which is basically what a bunch of people, specific artists, used to actually draw and convince people this is what dinosaurs looked like. And then in Jurassic World they explain that they did that on purpose using genetic engineering because that's what people expected and that would sell because it was a theme park. And the theme park, well, you have to sell tickets, and you're not going to sell tickets with, you know, dinosaurs covered in feathers because that's not what people expected at the time. So fair enough. but it's still a really good movie. As movies go, it's very well put together, very well paced. It has its problems, like if you critically analyze it, there are definitely issues, but for the most part, it's just a really good movie. Oh yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, the adult's big enough. Yeah, that makes sense. And then there's the other thing about like brachiosaurs and brontosaurs would probably... Oh, come on, there's got to be somewhere I can park. Brachiosaurs and brontosaurs probably would have had to have extra brains in their legs because of how far away their legs would have been from their main brain. Elephants at the moment deal with that with some of the longest nerve fibers in existence. They have nerve fibers that are actually 2 meters long. It's the longest, that's the largest single cells in existence. Oh yeah, I might not be able to with wheels that big because I had to, what's his name, it up. Alright, well we just won't anchor then. I didn't save that previous text, so I'm going to have to make a new one from scratch. But that's okay, that shouldn't be hard. Drive, build beam. Power. Let's put the shield bubble projector in the front, the repair bubble behind it, and put a battery behind that. We'll attach that and anchor it so that it can charge. And put some wheels on it. Still don't have enough of them, so I'll have to use these big ones, which are not ideal for this, but... Oh, and I can't do it until it's done because it's too short. Yeah, Jurassic Park 1, really good. Jurassic Park 2, less good, but okay. No, actually, Jurassic Park 2, I think, was the really crap one. Actually, then again, Jurassic Park 3 wasn't much better. I think Jurassic Park 3 is probably better than Jurassic Park 2, but not by a lot. But they're alright. They're still, you know, they're decent movies, but they weren't the award winners that the first one was. The first one was amazing. Alright, within 60 seconds, do 900 meters. The hardest thing about this is that this thing is a little bit squirrely. Oh no, we'll be right. Oh, very squirrely. Whoa! Yeah, if you go over the red lines, it's over. Hey! Sweet! I can go back to my tech that has weapons and destroy the things coming for me. Some good wheels there, actually. Oh, and the propeller. Propeller's always pretty good. And the almighty cube. Oh, wow. It's 5.2 that way. So that one wasn't... I was expecting that one to actually be close to this one. Alright, well, that's going to take some time. And I've been going for a long time already. So I think I'm going to call it there. Because that's a pretty long stream. And I have other things to do today. Alright. Now, I don't really make many flying techs. I generally make one that I can use to drop paladin bombs late game on specific techs, especially installations. So in the later parts of the game, there'll be bases where I'm like, well, I'll just anchor up here, summon in my special flying tech, go and hover over that base and drop bombs on it until it's gone, and then I'll drive in with my normal tech to pick up all the stuff. But yeah, other than that, I don't do many flying techs. they're good and they're fun, especially in creative, but I find them to be less good. I've just never been able to make one that's super manageable, because you still have to come down and land to pick up all the blocks if you want to pick up the blocks. So, yeah. Alright, but yeah, that's going to do it for us for today, because it's been pretty long. And like I said, I have other things I want to do. There is a chance I will be playing Phasmophobia later, but we will see. That might not be till tomorrow morning. But thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. If you'd like to find more of my content, hit that subscribe button. It makes it nice and easy to find the channel, because that's where all my videos are. And if you'd like to know when I go live or when I upload a new video, hit that bell icon, because that'll give you notifications. I know you've already done that, Jonathan, but I have to say that because there are people watching this video who weren't here last time and have never heard me say that. I do also occasionally say, if you didn't like the video, hit the dislike button. That's what it's there for. It has a purpose. But if you didn't like the video, or there was something about the video that irked you, leave me a comment. Let me know what it was, because I can't improve without it. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.